All right, good afternoon, everybody. I think we have participants joining in. We will start the webinar in another minute or 2 minutes. We'll just wait for everybody to come in. For everybody who's already joined in, my name is Dhanur. We had just had a small technical glitch on one of our speaker sites. They're joining back in, but we have Mr. Tej Shah with us and also Orchi. So just waiting for Mr. Shravik Sarkar to come back to us. Just give us a minute, please, and we will start. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. I see a lot of people are trickling in. So let's just give another minute. So sorry, everybody, Shravik needs another minute. He's had some technical issues, so we'll just give it another minute, but we promise to start on time. So Ritesh, what we'll do is we'll start in about a minute. I'll at least get the introductions done, and I'm sure Shravik will join us by then.
Sure, absolutely okay. We wait for maybe 30 seconds for him to join in. He should be in.
Absolutely. All right, so as Shravik joins in, let's start. Just keeping in mind that time is valuable. We've already got quite a few people who joined the webinar today. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. There's a critical reason why we decided to pick up this topic for this year. The way campus has changed in the past 2 years has been phenomenal. It has pushed us to innovate. It has pushed us to think differently. It has pushed us to reimagine how we look at campus. Our research says that the demand for campus recruits today outstrips the available pool by about 25%. There is a hyper demand to get great talent. There's a hyper demand to get great talent quickly. But that itself wasn't enough when we looked at the market. There were many lenses to how you look at campus, how you look at it holistically. How do you understand these students? How do you understand which student is best for your organization? And what do you do differently? We chose to have this webinar this early in the year because most of you either are starting your year or ending your year, and it's a great time to understand how are you going to move forward in a critical year where everything has become remote first. Our panelists today, I would like to introduce them. So we have Ritesh Jha, who is the talent acquisition head and leader at FIS. We have Shravik Sarkar, who's head of HR for Domino's Pizza in India. It was an intent from us to have two very different leaders come in from two very different industries to give us two unique perspectives. There are a lot of webinars on technology and IT hiring, which is important, but we wanted a different view as well. And we thought this would be a great balance between the two. So Ritesh, who's here with us, himself comes with over 17 years of experience. We're looking forward to learning from that wealth of knowledge that he brings forward. He's a seasoned leader who has worked with marquee organizations in BFSI technology. He's worked with organizations like JP Morgan, Citibank, Deutsche Bank, um, InfoEdge. He's also led large DA organizations with GE across energy as well as capital business. He's not only looked at talent acquisition, he's also had his lens on service consulting with Allegis Global Solutions. He's managed BFSI practices, managed recruitment process outsourcing for multiple clients and driving annual hiring volumes of over 5,000. So when it comes to scale, when it comes to bringing that lens of standardization, bring that lens of differentiation, we really look at Ritesh to kind of advise us today, speak to us today, and give us credible information on what we can do better. It's going to be a learning journey for us as well, and we hope for all of you on the call. With just about 100 people, and thank you so much for joining in. While Shobik joins, he's just messaged me that he is logging in. Just give me half a second. Orchi, can I request you to please WhatsApp the link to Shobik? His laptop is giving some issues.
Sure.
Thank you. So while Shobik joins us, Shobik himself comes with over 13 years of experience, various industries, BFSI, telecom. He's worked with companies like Citibank and Airtel. He has recently taken up this position with Domino's Pizza under the Jubilant Foodworks Limited Group. And in his 13 plus years, Shobik's had a deep exposure in talent management, recruitment, and HR technology. He's worked very, very deeply on analytics, imbibing technology in organizations and optimizing how technology really helps in standardizing the entire process flow when it comes to the employee life cycle at organizations. I've had the pleasure of working with both these gentlemen. They bring very unique perspectives, and I'm really looking forward to understanding more. Today, we will start this off not by us speaking, but hearing your voices. So the first and foremost thing we would like to do is run a short poll. We would like to understand where you are today on your campus strategies, and we will take inspiration from this poll as we move forward. So I would request if Orchi can actually put that poll up now. We want to understand what is your most important consideration while designing your campus program. For the 100 participants which are there, I'm sure you're across different industries, it'll be great. The option that you do have is it quality of talent pool? Is it the ability to assess this talent as per your need? Is it the cost of the program? Budget is king, as they always say. Or is it your brand perception? Which one of these is the most important consideration while you are planning your campus strategy? Will really kind of help our speakers today get a view on where people are, what are the issues, and how do we resonate with it. So this will be on your screens for the next minute or so. And we look forward to seeing what the poll results look like at the end of it. While you're giving your poll, just trying to get Mr. Sarkar back on the webinar. Orchi, did you manage to send him the link on WhatsApp?
Yes.
So we see we've got a lot more participants joining in. We have Shakun Bansal as well from the Mercer Metal team who has joined in. Um, Shakun is leading marketing for us. Thanks, Shakun, for joining.
Hey, Dhanur.
So Ritesh, what are your views when you are planning your campus strategy? What is the top consideration you have while we put the poll in place? When you look at campus for the year, and I know you've been discussing this, but how do you look at it as a talent leader today?
So, Dhanur, I'll use it both the lenses, right? Because of my past experiences where I've been consulting, right? When clients ask us why should we look at and what should be a good optimal mix for a campus intake, and the other piece is obviously when I'm leading a large TA organization and I need to do it functionally from the organization's perspective. So, a couple of considerations, right? And there are 2-3 hygiene or broad hygienes which we need to keep in mind. A, obviously, is what is the maturity of the workforce, right, which you have. Because if you have a matured workforce, right, and we see that in the industry, it's a very prevalent model. If you have a matured workforce, you have been in the market for some time, and you have a large critical workforce, you have good critical skills, then campus becomes a cost optimization plus also a new capability add talent model, right? And there, organizations look at anywhere between 25 to 50% to come in, right? Coming from picture. Right? The other piece is because what has happened in the industry is there's so much of immersive interactions which happen with academia and industry. So it's not the freshers which you're getting, probably the brightest talent which you're getting from the market. Mm-hmm. People come with no restrictive mindset. So they can think on data, they can think on product, they can think on functional overview, they can these are millennial generations which come in, right? So they have no fear, right? They have no fear and they have no restrictive mindset. So they bring in very different capability. So if you are at an early stage startup, right? And if you are a smaller organization, number and percentage, rather than number and percentage being driven, it's basically the capability what you are looking at is what comes into the picture. And obviously the cost comes into picture because you might be running on a slightly constrained budget if you are a startup or on a smaller organizations, right? The other consideration, so that's one, right? Budget, so where you are on the life cycle and what do you want from this intake to do for you? That's one. The second piece is in terms of the type of the grade of talent which comes in. We all see, right? People run through the valuation game. They are looking at an IIT, IIMs because that gives them a good valuation from a startup perspective. But are they a sustainable talent for you? And trust me, I'm not saying IIT, IIMs are not good guys, right? They are probably the best and the finest talent, right, in the market. Yes. And I've been hiring them over last 10, 12 years for sure in individual capacity and for the function, right? But is that, if you are a small organization, if you are a startup, is that the talent which is sustainable for you? Because you'll need to pay top dollars there, right? Correct. You need to have an ROI model, right? Correct. You need to also have a retention and a knowledge skill capability, because if you are a small organization, there is dependence of people doing multi-functions and people leave in a shorter span of time, then obviously there is erosion of knowledge, not only from that function, but from multi-radial aspect as well, right? Yeah. So the second aspect which we need to look at, from obviously there are going rates, right, with respect to the campus salaries and so on and so forth. We need to identify what type of talent are we looking at? What is the best fit talent for me? Not what is the best fit talent available in the industry. So go in an inside out view rather than an outside in view. That's a fundamental flaw which most of the companies do. They bring in an outside in perspective. Oh, my competition is hiring X number of IITians or X number of engineers and so on and so forth, and they want to do the same. So very rightly look at what you need from your context. Look at what capability you want to have, look at how many dollars or how many rupees or how many any other currency we can think of, about euro, right, which is another global currency. How many dollars, euros, or rupees you have to spend, right, from a
Correct.
talent perspective, and then accordingly be very convenient. So sorry for not answering it directly, but it is to sum it, it is contextual, life
Yes.
cycle, the need, the budget which you have, and the type of talent which you have, which you want.
Very interesting, Ritesh. And Shobhik, thank you for joining us in a technology-first
Very
world.
sorry
Uh,
for the technical
no,
glitch,
it's
which
fine.
happened at the absolute opportune moment,
Yes.
12 noon exactly. But
Yeah, it has been on the
glad
dot.
to
But
be
thank you
here.
so much for putting the effort to join back. So I have introduced to Shobhik. We have over 100 people who joined us. We've ran the poll and interesting results. I will weigh in after I hear you as well. So looking at the results and looking at where you are today, moving from a telecom, no longer telecom, a technology telecom company to F&B restaurant giant like Jubilant. How has things changed for you, and what is for you today the most important consideration when you look at your campus? Is it the quality? Is it the assessment of these folks? Is it the cost of the program or the brand perception that you need to build as dominoes today in campus to attract the right talent? So what would be your P1, P2, P3?
So I think very tough to actually pick. I think all are important, right? First of all, we while it is always good to say that yes, quality is the most important thing, but it's also a fact that there you should know what you want, right? And basis that, what kind of people you need, what kind of skill set you want to add, how do you understand, am I assessing the right skill set in the right way? Am I willing to pay extraordinarily for certain campuses and maybe go to a separate campus and pay a different amount? So I won't say it is one thing, and that's what comes out in the poll also. You will see one result quite lopsided, which is quality, but none of them are to be discounted, right? We cannot discount any of them. Yes, every company will have its own guardrails of working, and I have moved from a banking major to a techno telecom, however you want to say it, right? To From that, and now to a as we now want to be known like a food tech giant, right? That sort of a company. I think I would typically agree with the poll. My bias will also be towards getting the right quality of people, right? However, I can't be discounting any one of them, even cost, right? Let's face it, that is also one of the considerations a company needs to be very pragmatic about,
Absolutely.
right? So that's how I will talk about it.
I absolutely agree, and luckily in our experience, we work with early stage ventures to highly evolved organizations. It's been lucky for us that we get to work with everybody. Cost is always an underlying factor that cannot be discounted. But what we have seen is, depending on the evolution of the organization, the need changes, right? And that is what actually promotes what they're looking for. Quality is subjective, right? And I completely echo both of you that quality is subjective. What is great quality for me may not be great quality for somebody else. So what Ritesh rightly said, the right fit for my organization is critical. And if you don't know who you are, it's difficult to hire the right talent. And I love that perspective, Ritesh, that first go inward. Don't look at the world and say, oh, they hired from here, they hired from there. One is who we are, how can we be better, and what is our benchmark today, right? So I love that. Thank you for your views. Thank you for the audience for kind of participating in the poll. So jumping into the webinar itself, right? Over the past 2 years, we've heard a lot from multiple clients across the world in terms of what their issues are. We'll be focusing on India. I have seen certain comments. We have people from Malaysia joining in. We have people from APAC joining in. While we're focusing on India, a lot of our strategies will be applicable across the world. So the first and foremost is that it has become remote first. It has become first to hit campus. It has become how do I attract the right talent? So the first and foremost question that I would like to ask our panelists would be that how do you start with the first level of what value are these students bringing our organization? So when you go to campus, what is that first step of saying that this is what I'm looking for, and how do I assess it? So when you look at campuses in a remote first environment, how do you start with what is the addition that this campus recruit, whether B school or E school, coming through? What is the value add that these students are going to bring to us? And then how do you transfer that back to them? I think they're both related. While you see value in them, how do you show that value to the students as they come into the system? So either one, Ritesh or Shobik, if you would like to take this up, and then we can go to the following questions post that.
So I think it's a tough one, right? To be very true, do we precisely know what? And okay, let me step back. So there are multiple sorts of campuses that we go to, right? We will go to the B schools, right, which will give us skill sets of sales, marketing, operations, etc., finance. There are some very technical campuses which bring in very specific skill sets, which I would say still basis the reputation of that institute, you can definitely hinge upon or pivot towards, right? However, I think the key thing that I would personally over my years of experience would be leaning towards is getting the right soft skills, right? While of course the education background etc will bring in the right hard skills that a person will learn over the years, but it is the ability to navigate through the organization, which is very unique to the culture of the organization that I am representing at the campus.
Yes.
Is something as a match that I would like to look at, right? And I would say that's a big challenge because that's easier said than done, and that's where I think we need many smarter ways of assessments on the softer sides of the skills that we talk about, while hard skills or technical skills are something that a student's scores or hard work over the years does show on the report cards, so as to say, right? So I think that is something that would be one clear match that I would want to look at.
So what I hear is that while it's far more tangible, right, to look at their domain capabilities. You can look at the domain capabilities. You can have an assessment on them. So if you go into an e-school and you're hiring for a coder, put them through a coding assessment, and you'll see their prowess, right? And you'll be able to understand who's world class, who's great, who's average, and who's poor. So that's easy. But what is more difficult is how will this person survive in our organization? How will they be able to imbibe our cultures? So from this, I would like to put to Ritesh that you are currently hiring large numbers from e-schools, and when you look at your e-school talent, what is that one thing that you're looking at apart from tech skills that helps you identify the right talent? Because as you saw, 77% of people on the poll said best quality. Right, everybody is looking for good quality, and we've addressed that. At first, you figure out who you are, and then you identify what quality means for you. So, what does that mean for you, Ritesh, when you look at that?
So, just a 10 seconds, right? Detour to it, right? When we go to campuses, we actually hire for two sets of programs. The first is straight to desk, right, which is straight to the function, right? So you can have sales, operations, technology, even application management support, data centers, and so on and so forth, right? That's where you need to have the right fit, right? Right fit or fit for the job time, which is more sustainable wants to do. The second ones are global programs or corporate functions or headquarter functions, right? So you have people going into your marketing, you will have people going into your risk, or people who will go into your product, and so on and so forth, right? So basically, the contextualization needs to happen in terms of, and that's what the organizations do now, where they have to contextualize what type of roles they want, how many people they want from an X function, from Y function, because everyone has a limited dollar, right? And nobody has a loose purse where they want to go. and they only have a limited headcount, and they want a campus to only fulfill a certain percentage, right? So when we are looking at and I'll contextualize it to us, right? Fidelity, right? It's a global organization. When we are looking at people for product development, right? People who will come and work on, say, cloud transformation projects, then we'll go to the best in class, we go to the IITs and we hire, right? Because people have a better exposure, better coding capabilities and acumens around it, right? When we are looking at an application management, the CIO organization roles of support and so on and so forth, then we go to a tier 3, tier 4 colleges and higher, right? So obviously you utilize the right amount of dollars for the right amount. That's one. The second piece which comes into the picture is quite a lot of organizations also use campus for bench, right?
Yeah.
Which is an additional capability to what you have, right?
Correct.
And depending upon which focus you are in, and this is from a large organization, small organization, I said in my previous response itself, then it is basically for your top dollars where you want to use it. And I'm using this framework from a large organization perspective. So either you are using an augmented headcount where you will put them on an upskilling program for next 2 to 3 months to 6 months in a classroom, and an on-the-job training for next 12 to 18 months, and you will bring them up the curve. Or you have top talent coming in from top engineering schools, top B schools, who will straight away get into a headquarter-driven function or into a flagship product, new product introduction into the market, and take it and build a top-line driven agenda, right, for the organization. Bottom line driven agenda, again, tier 3, tier 4 colleges, which will come in straight to desk, fit into the function and do that. So that's how the contextualization happens from the organization perspective, and that's what the considerations are.
It's very interesting because just on this point, the top 3 things that we have heard from last year is a lot of organizations are now looking at skill over pedigree, right? They're becoming more nimble and flexible. They're saying that, listen, I might find a diamond in the rough in some campus. I don't know, but why should I lose out on that person? For e-schools, communication skills, like Shobik was saying, soft skills have become critical. A lot of engineering functions are client-facing or are solutioning or are working with multiple internal stakeholders, might have colleagues overseas, right? So how are their comm skills? You may be great, at the technical skill, but is that something that you have or not? That defines the path that you will get in the organization, right? If comm skills are weak, they say that, okay, we'll, like you were saying, Ritesh, that you have various projects that you hire for or program you hire for, and that is how they've started the differentiating factor. So, for example, their command on the English language, right? Especially for organizations which are looking India out, and you've seen the boom of SaaS now in India. Most Indian SaaS companies are headed outwards. You can't have people in the organization who don't have command of the language. So we've seen that becoming a critical ask. And there's some small and large players. For example, at our organization, we do have a tool specifically designed to capture spoken English capabilities. And it is being used by some organizations not, depending on where they are in their evolution. So it was interesting to kind of hear both of you echo the same from 2 very different perspectives, that where they fit in the organization depends on what the demand is. And in the remote first environment, the tools that you use, the technology that you use becomes rather critical. But before we jump, into the technology aspect, there's something interesting that Shobik said, that when you go to these campuses, you need to ensure, and so did you, Ritesh, that you need to ensure that value is there, right? And what value are these students bringing to you? So how important do you think it is to build that employee value proposition at campus? Whether you're early stage or late stage, everybody's fighting for day 0. But the point is, ultimately, it is the student's choice. Where do they want to work? And where do they want to apply? So how important do you think this is in your campus program? And to the audience, we have 122 people now on the call with us. To the audience as well, what would you advise when it comes to creating that employee value proposition? We'll get into the solutions of it, definitely. But how important or critical do you think this is at campus?
So, Dhanur, short answer is very. right? If you're looking for a one word answer, but I think just to give you a perspective, right? So if I have to have a campus program for the long run, right, I need to be very clear that I have the right ecosystem and the right culture to support that campus program, to support the careers that I am, taking grounds up in my organization, right? Now, very good, broad HR statement, we should have the right culture and the right ecosystem. How do I know, if I have it or not, right? That's the second thing that goes in my mind. There are multiple ways to realize that whether that is there or not. When we have people from campus, we get a sense there are enough number of tools and bots and whatnot available in the market, which can tell us as to how a new joiner from a campus is seeing the organization and growing in the organization. At various milestones we can keep on having milestone checks, etc., that can tell us if we are having the right ecosystem culture. Attrition reports tells us if the things are going right or not, etc., etc., right? That's the second level. Now, then the third level is, so what do I do about it, right? In case I don't have it, right? So I think again, there's very personal experience because I have been a student at one point in time, and now I'm on the other side of the table for a few years now. I think we need to realize that there is a large bias for alumni, right? So a student will have the most amount of trust from what he or she hears from the immediate seniors or the seniors from his or her campus who are working for the organization that I am representing, right?
Yeah.
Which means that if I have to build a great employee value proposition for my campus, I need to look
Starts from
outside
there.
the campus, right? I need to look inside my workplace first, right?
Mhm.
So if I am a startup, a new organization which is entering the country, and I don't have any roots, so as to say, uh, I may not have a campus hiring program for the first 2 years and hire laterally people from the campuses that I think I should be hiring from, give them a great experience for 1 or 2 years,
Fantastic. Yeah.
then go to the campus with those guys shoulder to shoulder with me, representing me at that campus and speaking great stuff about us, right? Uh, Otherwise, it is really tough because see, beyond the point, there are just so many companies, there are just so many organizations which are giving a very similar package, great roles, at least from a presentation standpoint, right? Everything is same. So what differentiates is what actual student of that campus in my organization is telling the students today, right? So if I can build that culture in which I first look inwards and say that, look, I need to give a great culture to my people existing who are there in the company, so that they speak awesome about me, hire a few people from the campus that I want to aspire to, give them a great growth path in the short run, then go to the campus with those folks. I think that will build the right value proposition for me and top of the mind recall in that campus. Also, I think we need to also realize there are biases, right? I had biases. When I was student, I wanted to look at a specific company. Oh wow, I would want to work for that X company, or if I can work for that X industry. All campuses will have an inherent bias, right? Which is very tough to break, right? But what we can do is navigate around if we have strong, networking through the alumni, venture of that campus. So I think that's something that can really. I hope that answers somewhat, from the fact that should we have
We,
employee value proposition?
yeah.
Of course,
We
right?
will dig deeper as well, Shobhit, with you on this. The webinar is about using technology, so we will be jumping to technology section as well, of what all you can leverage from the technology aspect, right? Whereas alumni network is fantastic. Proof of the pudding, the eating. If your own alumni network is speaking about an organization, speaking positively, it's great. Just adding to the alumni network part, Shobhit, what we've also seen building value at campuses, the ex-employees speaking very well about the organization. It shows that there's nothing for them in this. They're not forced into it. They're not there because they're a part of the company. They are bias free. So we've seen that really work. Just to add that slight more credibility to the context of how good this organization is. to work with. So just adding to that, Shobhik, what you said. Ritesh, your views on how important is this? Fidelity is a large, FIS is very, very big. But how do you look at this?
As Sobik said, Rome was never built in a day, right? So it takes time, right? It takes time. You need to invest time. Value proposition is basically your intent and effort multiplier, right? And it happens over a period of time. And people are your best sponsors, as what Sobik was talking about, right? Couple of pieces, right, which has been an own experience and also a piece of advice is that don't get into a competing model. You are not competing with an X company to create an equally powerful value propositions. Create your own space, right? And trust me, although we keep on talking about, there are so many companies, it's a crowded space, you need to be super competitive, ultra nimble, and so on and so forth. Understand, if you tap people young, right? If you tap people who are in their fourth semesters, people who are in their fifth semester, sixth semesters, right? Create that multiple touch points from the people who matter in your organizations. Preferably alumni are the most important ones. The other one, which is also a very good interpreter of your value proposition, is where your topmost leader comes down to that level and talks to them in that language, right? Humility and that keenness from your top leader in terms of coming in and talking to them, hey, as much you need a job, we also need you, right? So bringing that transparency, bringing that immersive relationship into picture goes a great way. Although, again, in the same breath, it's just not one session of 30 minutes will create that value proposition, right? You need to be there in the campuses over a period of time. Even if you do not have a good experience of people at writing in a year, please don't forgo them. Be there over a period of time, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? When you show your intent and your commitment to those campuses, that's where the repercussion comes in. And that's the positive repercussion comes in. And that's where the inputs will come in. So tap them young, tap into your topmost leaders, right? And I'm just doing exclusive what to Shobik what said, right? Give as much of view of what your real self is, and that's where you create your space, and not try to project with someone else to be someone else and compete with someone else. Those are few of the things which gives you a value proposition and might enable you to even get people at a slightly lesser dollar than the highest bidder there.
Absolutely. So while we've talked about the challenges, we've talked about why we go to campus. There's some questions also coming up saying that why go to campus at all, right? Why don't you just pick up people from a bench, an available bench of candidates sitting at IT giants? What's the purpose of doing that? And that is where the value proposition comes in. That is where you want to recruit for your brand, by your brand, and not pick up people from somebody else's bench, right? Looking at technology, all the technology tools, and there's a question as well that has come up, is that when you look at a technology partner, whether it's the assessment space, whether it's the engagement space, whether somebody helping in the marketing side of it, SEO optimization, in the technology world for this audience, what are those 3-4 things that you want to see in your partner before you move forward? Would be great to know, because technology is again a service, and what do you look at? Just very briefly, because I'm sure you've onboarded multiple partners in your time. So what do you look at in those top 2-3 things? I'm sure will help the audience, and the anonymous question that we've got of what do you look at? So if you could just weigh in there, and then we'll get a little deeper on specific campus strategies.
Shobik, you want to go first, or shall I take it?
So I think if I have to look at what I would want in a technology partner, I think, see, what is my problem at campus, right? When I go to a campus, more or less profiles will be similar. There will be few outliers, absolute best or absolutely, not there, but broadly there. Broadly, everybody is their backgrounds, and especially in India, almost 70% people are engineers, right? That's the way it is. So the background, the scores will be very, very close. So what do I differentiate upon, right? And to differentiate, basis things which are not very easily metricized, right? And that is where I would probably, while yes, no technology, I believe can replace actual in-person interaction. When you ask a question, the way the person responds, pauses, takes his or her breath, and then gives a response cannot be replaced. But that can be a huge value add can be done in the gray area in that assessment of soft skills, right? In which a tech partner can actually tell me, ki, hey, you have assessed 75% right. My inputs will make it 90% right. Nothing will make it 100% maybe, but
Yeah.
so the journey from that 75 to 90, I think that gives us a lot of confidence. And I think I would look for a tech partner who can help me make my 75% seem like a 90 basis the assessments that come through. And how do I know if that tech partner can do that? I think it's just credibility and the clientele that he or she has worked in and the database that he or she has brought along with through years and years of assessments, right?
Correct.
So I think that credibility and robustness of the tool is something that I look forward to, which can enable me, take my 75% surety to a 90% surety. That's how I would,
So credibility and value add to the current process. So when looking at a technology partner, obviously credibility is key. We're not getting into budgets right now. You're also looking at what value add can they bring. How much more can that partner add to your process, whether it's engagement or selection or assessment, as long as that partner is adding value to your chain. Could be operational as well, I assume. Even operational efficiency on your end, where your bandwidths open up to do other work, will all be reasons for you to choose somebody, and maybe give them a shot, so to say.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, moving on from the employer branding proposition, taking that as the next question. Campus has now become year-long. Earlier is to be seasonal. Now it's become year-long. Yesterday, reading an article that B school candidates are getting picked up at record time, right? Highest ever PPOs, PPIs given ever, right? So what we're seeing as a trend is get them early, get them engaged, right? And keep them engaged. And that is what we have seen. One of the tools we have seen in the market is running campus contests. What are your views on these campus contests? Do you think they're a good tool to use? We do have a reason of definitely why it should be done. Would love to hear from you of what these campus contests mean to you as the user of it. Why do you think you want to use it, and how important it becomes, especially in this remote first world, and seeing how early these kids are getting picked up from campus. So, love to hear from you on that.
So there is always the best way model is to mix up the machine and the man capability, right? Both, and man is a gender agnostic, right? And human capability, right? Together, right? What technology, which can be corresponded with machine, is gives you scale, right? Massive scale at some point of time. If I need to do an assessment and you have been our partners, right? In last 1.5 months, we have done an assessment of close to what, 8 to 10,000 people, right? Across 100 campus, right? Think about it if you had to do it manually.
Right.
And the amount of time and effort which would have run it, right? So it's a great optimizer from a time and effort perspective, right? Let's look at the capability perspective, what the technology is bringing in, right? And that's where, since we are a part of technology company, we are a great believer in technology in terms of solving this issue. It removes the typical interview times for a human interaction is around 20 minutes to 45 minutes. And we have all grown up doing our B schools in our early years in terms of the human biases which come in of culture, creed, caste, language, appearance, and so on and so forth, right? So that can color quite a lot, and with the time constraint, it can color quite a lot of our assessments, right? So a technology gives you a very bias-free environment to assess, right?
Correct.
It also, and the piece which we had built together, right, for Fidelity along with Metal, right, is it's a mix of both technical and the functional assessment, right, which is also on a behavioral side. the depth which it goes in, the scenarios which it builds in, the inputs which comes in, and the algos which you have, and the report which comes out from us is phenomenal with respect to the timeline it takes. Plus, human is agnostic to a Ritesh, to a Shobik, to a Dhanur, right? It does what it's supposed to do. Right? So it brings in so both content reliability and validity both at the same time, and it is scalable. It is scalable for me, where I can do this at a mass production level, like a factory, like a factory model. That's what technology basically gives to me. Then a human interaction comes in, where we actually look at a culture fit, right? Where we look at a 1 to 2 leading questions on contextual, whether this person will fit into our culture or not. Everyone talks about diversity and inclusion, but always understand one of the underlying factors is that whether this person will survive in our culture or not is your first primary criteria while hiring at campus. So a human interaction gives you that, but a 75-80%, right? What Sobik was talking about maybe a few minutes back. How do I difference between those almost like robots, right? Similar 60%, 65% engineering scores, and almost similar CGPAs. Everyone part of some different fests, right? And big part of cultural committee, right? So it's almost like, and Naukri has ensured that everyone has a similar resume as well, right? So what it does is it gives me contextual, it gives me the role requirements. It runs those situational tests, which is both technical and soft skills, and it gives me a bias-free report, which is then used by human to do a final selection. It gives a 100% view to the entire process. That's what, at a broad level, I will keep it, where it's a win-win solution. Over to you, Sobik. Anything which you want?
No, I think absolutely, and my perspective will be slightly different. I'm sorry, because see, Ritesh, as you come from a tech first background, we are on our journey to that side, and we specifically go to business schools, right? And over the years, I have been in revenue generating functions, which goes to business schools, and I ask few people in compared to a tech first organization which has masses, right? So completely agree that it will take away the biases, the inherent biases, and it will help us scale up at numbers that we manually cannot, right? But also you have to just move away from the tech for a minor 5 seconds and see, when you gave the context of Dhanur that we are seeing record speed of placements and all that stuff, and I think one of the things that companies may tend to do as a mistake, right, is that as Ritesh also touched upon this earlier, compete with each other. So I would much rather, and this is again maybe controversial, maybe my personal belief, you may not agree with it, but I would much rather go to a tier 2 campus and get the best guy there or best girl there than not the best from a tier 1. Right. So I think that rush for that one specific campus creates these headlines, record PPOs, record PPIs, record placements, and behind that record, there are hundreds of employers who are not able to get the talent. And what I'm trying to just say that have the right strategy, that you need not always go to that specific campus, and you need not always get the best talent from that campus. You may just get a far better talent for the long run if you just go a level below. And I think, and with the right help of the technology partners who can enable you to reach much more many campuses than 1 or 2 campuses. So if I go manually, I'll be able to in person maybe at best touch 4 or 5 campuses in a year, right? Yeah. If I have the right partner, I may be able to go to 20, 30, 40, right? And pick the best talent of the campuses that I want to pick from than compromising on talent just because manually I could go to those 4 campuses. Yeah, so that's how I would probably keep it.
So very interesting points, and not to sum it up, but to add to it, what we have seen is going to campus is a problem. How do you scale it? You've both answered that. If you're the right technology partner, you can maybe on the same day hit 30 campuses, right? Instead of spending a month flying, staying, talking, presentation, so on and so forth. In the same day, you can do that. You can evaluate these people, interview them, once you found your top 30, 40, 50, whatever that hiring number that you have is. But rolling back into, building the brand at campus. We have seen a lot of organizations either moving to do B school challenges, which are online, or doing codathons, or doing hackathons at campus as a tool off campus, right? Even though people are being evaluated here, the opportunity of presenting your employer value proposition and employee value proposition becomes greater. Do you think that these are tools that you see being leveraged more as we go forward to kind of hit two different perspectives of creating the brand as well as selecting students with one tool? So do you think these online challenges that are there, and they are picking up now in the past 3 years, first used to be one or two happening a year, and now a lot of companies we see are looking at this, but what are your opinions on these B school and E school challenges that are happening, which are all virtual?
So these models, Dhanu, what they bridge is the gap between projection and reality, right? It, any platform, right, hackathon or a codathon, what it does is it takes in a quasi like and a business challenge, right? By the way, so which is for functional, for non-tech functional roles as well. It actually gets deeper into the actual life scenarios in terms of in which the role exists or the work exists, the type of work or the type of problem solving, the type of soft skills or people liaising or interpersonal skills which is required, and also at the bottom is obviously the technical skills, right, or the functional capability to solve that problem, right? It gives you a real point of view and a deeper view. So it again takes you away from again rush through 20-25 minutes 30 minutes model into a more elaborate multi-touch points, right? Through the process you have interactions at different touch points where the candidate gets to know about you better, right? And candidate gets to know about the work style situations and styles better, and the hiring managers or the companies touch base with different people or the same people at different point of time to understand their basic tenets in a almost quasi real life situations, right?
Correct.
So what it does is it gives you a better job fit people, right, where both the parties stand to gain the with respect to what is your actual reality, what is your actual job situation, what is the actual technical or functional skills which you require, and people get to know these are the type of problem solving, these are the type of situations, these are the type of people issues which will come in, which I need to be prepared for. So it's a very immersive model of a win-win, and also bridges the gap between projection and reality. That's what my looking at the timelines. I'll keep it short, and that's what my
No, absolutely.
I just got a ping as well.
I think
But
bang on, Ritesh. Completely agree with that.
Yeah, I'll tell you where B school challenges got interesting for us. Problem statement, quote unquote, Dhanur, when I go to top 10 MBA colleges, they're already 99.99 percentile CAT. I can't give them a cognitive assessment, right? They're extremely bright people. I don't want to put them through a behavioral assessment. But I want to understand that what is their strategic orientation. I want to understand the decision-making capabilities. I want to understand business acumen, because these are normally people who are put into some young leader type program, right? It's called different companies, but they're normally put into some program, which is an accelerated leadership program that you have for them, and they're high stake. That is where these challenges at B schools gain traction, right? Where you could see them solving real world problems that they would face in the job. So I echo Ritesh with you completely there as well. On the coding side of it, we saw the application being a problem. That, hey, we see people with great basic fundamentals in order. We see people with great coding prowess, but can they apply this to solve for business problems is what I want to understand. So it gave them that lens. Marketing loved it, that we saw, because they could put their brand forward, right? And create that proposition. So we've seen this really transform and become a multi-touch point. I love that, Ritesh, we will use it somewhere in one of our conversations as well, a multi-touch point. But Shauvik, when looking at your sector, like you said, you go to B school campuses more. You're trying to become a technology first organization. Do you see hackathons being something, or these B school challenges being something that you would want to explore, and do you advise it for non-tech companies who are in this journey? Do you think it would be a reasonable opportunity for them to explore?
Yeah, of course. See, I see every engagement contest, whatever you call it, right, as an opportunity, not just to assess if I'm getting the right skill sets through a much more elaborate program than through a 30 minutes interview or something, but also an opportunity to create a brand and top of the mind recall for the students, right? So everything that, so campus is something where we have to realize that it is not us assessing the students, it's also the students assessing us, right?
Yeah, very well
So
said.
I think the quality of the problem statements that you give in a actual contest hackathon, and there are multiple. I think there are companies which build a reputation just because of creating great war rooms, right, at campuses in the past decade or so, right? So I think these things I would echo with whatever Ritesh said. Plus, I will also add on. My personal vested interest will be to create a great brand in front of the students by giving them the quality of work that they can hope to see when they join us, because this is the quality of problems that we solve. So I think it's a two-way street, and both what Ritesh said in our ability to bring down the gap between reality and expectation, and also what I feel is that to build a great brand recall for our brand by giving great quality contest and great quality problem statements to students, which will give them a line of sight that, hey, if I join this company, I might get to do great work and my CV will improve over time. I think that's something that I would pivot towards.
Oh, that's fantastic, Shobhik. I love giving clarity of job quality and role quality to the students. Because when you go to campus, I'm thinking when I was in campus, we should see a PPT, we should see the job description and apply. But we don't know what the job really
that
is.
Doesn't work anymore, by the
Correct.
way.
Yeah. So,
people see through that easily.
Correct. But when you put them through an environment like this, right, you build on the quality that you deliver, right? And they see that quality and they start joining in. We have just 2 minutes left on the webinar. I've just got pings from the team saying that there are 2 minutes left. It's been good speaking. I think Ritesh has dropped maybe some connection issue. But before we wrap this up, just one last question to you, Shobhik. That do you think the future of campus hiring is going to rely heavily on digital and technology, or are you looking at it being a double-edged sword where you need technology but you can't get rid of the human factor of ultimately interacting with these students as well as you move forward? Because with metaverse coming in, with all of these new technologies coming in, how do you see that for this year? Nobody knows what the next year has, but at least for this calendar year, where do you see campus changing to? And anything that you would like to add on that?
So I think in the immediate future, which is, let's say, 2022, I think it will be the second option that you gave, Thanur. I don't see technology replace the human interaction at all, right? I think because of the pandemic, the virtual ways of campus engagements have increased, which by essence leverages technology. Otherwise, you can't, right? But I think the key part, if we go back to the poll, quality of talent, right? To quality of talent is closely linked with how do I assess the quality of talent and be assured that I'm getting the best quality talent. I think that bit technology will support in making us more sure about our assessment. It will not replace it entirely, right? For the immediate, I think, and this is essentially the journey of any technology. You start small, you gain data, and the more data we have, the more stronger the technology becomes. As simple as that. And over a period, once you have a partner who can show 100% accuracy to a success profile. So I think how do I know what my success profile is, right, is something that I would love to see any technology platform to solve for me. And for that, I think it's a journey. Immediate, right. I think it will be a mix. People will leverage both their own assessment plus a partner who can give them more surety. I think half a decade down the line, it can be fully tech enabled.
Right.
Because the database will become stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yeah, ultimately technologies evolve, and it's 1 minute over time, and we've lost Ritesh. I think he's had some connection issue, but basically echoing our 1 hour discussion of how things have changed on the slide, where we are using technology as an aid, not as a replacement. We're using technology for scale. We're using technology to help solve problems. There is one question that came up that's saying, do you see technology replacing or aiding your team? And I would like to add in that technology doesn't replace, it only aids. And that's what all technology is meant to do. If it replaces actions, but not people, right? And
You
it
can
optimizes.
replace the transaction
Correct.
scale, right? Instead
Right.
of doing 1, you can do n, right?
Correct.
But
So, yeah, so it replaces actions but not people, and I think that's a worry that came up from somebody's heart, which said that with all these technologies coming, do we become redundant? We haven't seen redundancy. We've only seen people get better, more optimized, more skilled. And thank you, Ritesh. I know that you've dropped. I will speak to you separately, but Shouvik, for your time today. It's 2 minutes over time. Thank you. Most of the audience has stayed with us through the entire webinar. We do hope that it was as informative for you as it was for me personally. I am missing Ritesh right now, but we do have to.
It is just coincidence that the start missed me and the end missed Ritesh. But
so Shouvik got 3 minutes back that he lost in the beginning. Ritesh had covered for Shouvik then. But thank you everybody who joined in. Thank you for your time. We will be reaching out to everybody who's joined in for your feedback. Thanks, Shouvik. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Really looking forward to staying in touch. We wish we could have taken up some more questions and answers, but the conversation was so much fun. But thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed being there with you and Ritesh. And if the questions that are there, anything that me or Ritesh can answer separately, also happy to do so. But thank you so much, guys, for logging in and listening to us.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Shouvik.
Thanks, Dhanu. Thanks, Archie. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.